So to prep Catherine's face, we've already cleansed her skin. It's an important step with the pixel because you get a little bit of flakiness coming from the surface. So to have your makeup apply nice and smooth, you want to make sure that you cleanse the face. And then we've prepped her with our Glow Minerals primer, which is actually a silicone-based primer. So what it does is it actually is filling in the texture of her skin and giving her a really nice smooth surface to apply the makeup on. And then for our first step with color, we're going to apply concealer first. And for Catherine, we're using the Beige Concealer Duo from Glow Minerals. And I'm applying it to any areas of pigmentation that we want to conceal, as well as any redness, and then of course under the eyes, and then around the mouth and the chin area. And I'm using a patting and fanning technique. So I'm pressing the concealer into the areas of darkness that we want to cover, and then I'm actually fanning it around the surface to blend it into the skin. So you can see that we're actually taking that redness down a little bit. You still have some flakes on your skin. One of my biggest tricks for giving the face a really nice even appearance without applying a lot of makeup is to put some concealer around the nostrils. A lot of us get a little bit of redness in that area, no matter what time of year. I know it's a lot more prevalent in the winter time when it's cold outside. But just doing a little bit gives you the appearance of a more even complexion without applying a full face of makeup. And again, I'm patting it in and then fanning it out. So we're kind of diffusing the edges so that it blends into her clear skin. And I find that really making sure that you have a nice concealer base before you apply any of the mineral foundations gives you a really even finish and a long wearing application, so you end up looking really nice and even throughout the day. And I'm blending the two colors that we have, the two tones I should say, from the concealer duo. There's a light tone and a dark tone, and for Catherine's skin tone we do need to blend the two. So again, I'm pressing it directly onto the area that I want to conceal, and then with the clean bristles I'm feathering it into her even skin. The other kind of concealer that I'm going to use on Catherine is called our Glow Brightener Highlight Concealer, and it has a little bit more of a fluid texture, and I'm applying this directly underneath her eyes. It actually has light diffusing particles in it, so it's virtually like 8 hours of sleep in a quick pen. So it's a very useful product indeed. It works to help scatter the light around the lower lid, so it really gives you a more even, wide awake appearance. Right, so we finished our concealer application on Catherine. As you can see, we have just a more even complexion. I did apply the different Glow Brightening Concealer under the eye, and then the Beige Concealer Duo, a combination of the two tones throughout her face on any areas that I really wanted to brighten up. Paid particular attention in the corners of the nose and then on the cheek area as well. So now we're going to apply our pressed mineral base, and for Catherine, again, we're going to stick to the beige tones because she does have a real cool sort of redness to her undertone, so we want to try and not deviate too far from that, otherwise it'll look very artificial. So I'm applying the pressed base with this brush, which is called the Ultra Brush, and I'm applying it in downward strokes over the face, starting from the top to the bottom. So you can see that I'm just applying a really light layer throughout, firstly. And then once I've applied this single layer, I'm going to go back and touch up any areas that I feel like we need a little bit more coverage. And once I've applied the product off the brush, I am using a clean brush to blend all of my edges. It just makes the finish much more smooth. And if you do it as you go, you really don't have a lot of blending to do. do like to do the mineral bases after I do my concealer. Although these concealers are very long wearing, they do help to stay in the spot that you put them when you apply your mineral foundation over top. It acts like a sealer. I am trying to apply the least amount of powder that I can to the under eye area because it gives the most flattering finish. You don't want to over apply powder to the under eyes regardless of your age. A little bit onto the eyelids that will help the eyeshadow adhere. So you can see that although I am using the pressed base on Catherine, which usually has a very matte finish, we do still have a little bit of luminosity to her skin, particularly because I'm not overloading the powder onto her skin, and also because after the pixel you do get a kind of sheen in between the textures, so you're not looking terribly matte. So we are finished the mineral base step of applying Catherine's makeup. I did use this brush, which is the Ultra brush, and then I am using just a powder brush to make sure that all my edges are blended, and then it's also useful after pixel as well, just to make sure that any little flaky bits that aren't really attached do flake off. Just gives a nicer finish to the makeup.